أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I seek refuge in God from the rejected adversary. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Welcome. Today, we're going to journey together into a powerful passage from Sūrah al-Kahf, the chapter of the cave. It's a passage that really dives deep into one of the most subtle spiritual tests any of us can face, the test of success.
You know, it's pretty easy for us to spot a trial when it shows up as a hardship, right? But the Quran asks us to look closer at a much quieter and maybe even more corrosive danger. What happens when our prayers are actually answered, when we're blessed with abundance? This explainer is all about how that very success can become a kind of veil over the heart, and how the Quran, in its mercy, gives us a way to find our way back to what's real.
So in this part of Surah al-Kahf, we make this really interesting shift. We go from the story of the youths who were fleeing persecution, a trial of hardship, to a parable about a man who is practically drowning in blessings. It's a profound pivot that forces us to look at the spiritual danger of wealth, especially when it starts to create this feeling of self-sufficiency, making us forget the giver of the gift. But here's the beautiful thing about the Quran's guidance. Before it even presents us with the problem, it gives us the solution. It provides us with these spiritual anchors, things to hold on to when the tides of this worldly life try to pull us away. These are the tools that are meant to protect the heart. So let's take a look at what they are.
The first anchor is tilawa. Now, this isn't just mechanically reading words off a page. It's a deep, living, reflective recitation where our hearts can connect with what is eternal. Think about it. In a world where trends and values are constantly shifting, God's words, His kalima, are unchanging. They are our firm ground.
And because those words are our firm ground, the Quran itself becomes our multahad, our ultimate refuge and our shelter. It's more than just a book. It's a sanctuary. When the world outside feels chaotic and confusing, we can find our safety and our clarity right here within the divine word. The second anchor is sabr, which means patient self-restraint. And pay close attention to where we're told to practice it. With the sincere, humble believers, those who are seeking God's face, His very essence, not the superficial glitter, the zina of this worldly life. Good company, keeps our vision clear and our hearts grounded. Okay, so now that these anchors have been established for us, the Quran presents a mathal, a parable, that shows us exactly what can happen when a heart has no anchor. It's the story of two men, one blessed with incredible abundance and one who is deeply grounded in his faith. And just listen to this description. I mean, picture this place. It's absolute perfection. Two flawless gardens, rivers flowing through them, date palms, crops that never, ever fail. The Quran makes it crystal clear. The provision from God was complete. The fault wasn't in the gift, the fault was about to be revealed in the heart of the person who received it. And right here, we get a peek inside the owner's mind, and it reveals two huge, profound mistakes. First, he looks at this temporary garden and he sees permanence. He thinks it's going to last forever. And second, he has this shocking sense of entitlement, just assuming that his success here on earth automatically guarantees him an even better deal in the afterlife. He's completely forgotten that this life is a test, not some kind of transaction. But thankfully, he's not alone in this garden. His companion is with him, and this companion becomes the voice of truth. He offers the spiritual diagnosis and really the cure for his friend's deep delusion. This comparison just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? It shows two completely opposite ways of seeing the world. The owner's reality is horizontal. He's constantly comparing himself to other people based on money and status. But the companion's reality is vertical. He reminds his friend where he came from, created from dust, and he directs his own heart upward to God, the true source of everything.
So the companion's advice is so practical, so crucial. He says, if only you had just said these two simple phrases when you walked into your garden. First, Masha Allah, what God has willed. This anchors the heart in gratitude. And second, La quwwata illa billah. There is no power except with God. This anchors the heart in humility. These are like verbal shields that protect us from that dangerous illusion of, I did this all by myself.
Now, that advice from the companion, it wasn't just good counsel. It was a serious warning. And as the story reaches its climax, that warning becomes a devastating reality. The illusion of permanence is about to be completely shattered. The companion specifically warns of a husban, a precise, calculated, sudden calamity sent from the heavens. Something totally unforeseen, something that would completely transform this landscape of abundance into nothing but barren, slippery ground. And then, with this stark, chilling finality. It happens. Just one line. The illusion of control, the illusion of permanence, is wiped away in a single instant. Everything he had built his pride and identity on is gone. So what's his reaction? The Quran gives this vivid image of him, يُقَلِّبُ كَفَّيْهِ, wringing his hands in absolute regret. And listen closely to what he cries out. He doesn't say, oh, if only I hadn't been so arrogant. He says, if only I had not associated anything with my Lord. Wow. In that moment of total loss, he finally gets it. His garden had become an idol in his heart. It had become a partner he associated with God.
So what do we take away from all this rubble? The destruction of the garden isn't just a punishment. It's a clarification. It's a painful but necessary unveiling of a much deeper truth.
And that truth is wilaya, true guardianship. It's when all of our false supports get knocked away, when our own strength and planning prove to be absolutely nothing, that's when the soul finally recognizes who was holding everything together all along. True power, true protection, true authority, it belongs only to God. The great mystic Rumi gives us this absolutely beautiful inner commentary on the story. He says, the garden that makes you forget the gardener is already burning. This is the inner, the batin, meaning the spiritual destruction, the act of forgetting the source that happened long before the physical garden was ever touched. The fire was already there. And so, this brings the parable right out of the pages of the Quran and into our own hearts. Where has our comfort maybe made us a little careless? What blessing in our own life, our health, our family, our career, have we started to see as permanent, as something we're just entitled to? This is the quiet question the story asks each of us to sit with. And here are just a few practical ways we can try to apply its wisdom. First, let's make it a real habit to say MashaAllah out loud when we feel a sense of ease or enjoy any blessing. Second, let's try to loosen our grip by giving in charity from the very thing that gives us that feeling of security. And third, here's a powerful little exercise for the heart. Just sit for a moment and imagine losing a great blessing. Not to create panic or anxiety, but to gently see what truly remains when the illusion is stripped away. Let's close with this short prayer, this intimate conversation, this munajat with God. O giver who lends and withdraws, do not let what you entrust to us replace you in our hearts. Leave us poor enough that we always remember you, and rich enough that we always give thanks to you. Amin. This explainer has been compiled with deep gratitude by Mir Ali Shah, a fellow seeker who is sharing these reflections through the Living the Wisdom of the Quran series. And finally, we humbly ask for your forgiveness and for God's acceptance for any errors or mispronunciations that may have occurred through the use of AI narration tools in bringing this reflection to you. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey.